I don't know. What am I saying? Who are you? What's your name?
I don't know.
What do people
I don't know.
need to know?
Maybe we should go and listen to other podcasts and see how they start. Hello, welcome to Le Pod. It's a brand new podcast we're going to be putting out from down here in the basement of Le Pub twice a month. We're going to be talking to our staff, our community, local bands, local artists, and anyone we think is interesting.
Yes, welcome to episode number 6 of Le Pod. The Christmas episode, if you will. It's the Christmas episode purely by virtue of it being late in December, close to the 25th. This is the only mention of Christmas from here on out. So enjoy it while it lasts. Merry Christmas, everyone, dear Le Pod listeners. I hope you do have a good one somehow, regardless of the festive surprise lockdown that was thrown on us a couple of days ago. Yeah, kick in the teeth, I know, but there we are. Anyway, before we get too dark, today's episode is another special one. I think they're all special. They're all like my little children. I love them all the same, but everyone's got their favourites deep down in their heart. And today's guest, if I was to say that previous guests have all been friends of Le Pub and Le Pod, then today's guest would be family, for sure. He's played a very close role in all of our hearts. He's played the pub countless times. I think he even played the first show in the new Le Pub. And he's worked the other side of the bar as well. He's one of us. He has poured your pints and cleaned up your puke, as glamorous as that may sound. He's a full-on artist, singer-songwriter in his own right as well. He's done 2 full-length albums, Graft and Grief in 2017 and Son of the Smith in 2018, and a bunch of EPs and singles before that, with his most recent work, which we talk about quite a bit in the podcast, the Curate Calm, Create Chaos EP. You can check that out on Spotify. I don't know why I'm saying that. You know you can check it out on Spotify. You can check anything out on Spotify, but you should check it out on Spotify is what I'm hinting towards. Go and listen to it. If you haven't worked it out for yourself by now, today's guest is the one and only Sean McGowan. We talk about all sorts, as is the way on the pod, including...
Well, now you're in the first year of college, if you're good at fighting, you're an arsehole and no one likes you. So it's just like, what? Taylor Swift would be talking about, I don't fucking like, getting chased by the old Bill or something out of a boozer in Millbrook. This is the type of guy that people would write off, and he'd try and make a recovery, but he'd still be written off.
Couple of things before we get into the actual conversation. There is actually a couple of things to shout out about. Well, one thing to shout about, I guess, in the face of this lockdown. I feel like this part of the podcast is just like me complaining to Mark Drakeford, just being like, why? The Drakeford Diaries part of the podcast. Why are you doing this to us? But yeah, we have something going on at the pub. It is day 2 of the Live Now Festival. Day 1 was yesterday. You've already missed that if this is the first time you're hearing about it, but hopefully you saw it, because it's great. It's a bunch of bands. I think there's 3 bands today and 2 bands yesterday. And they're playing live at the pub, and we're streaming it to the world via the magic of the internet. It's all completely safe and COVID friendly and socially distanced and happy, and all the artists are good, and we're not breaking any laws, and you can watch it guilt free, promise. I think it starts at 8 PM, I'm not sure, but you can check out the Facebook page, either go on the Le Pub Facebook page or go on the Live Now Facebook event, and yeah, check it out. It's going to be wicked. And a little kind of sneak preview, we will be recording podcast segments with each of the artists performing at that Live Now Festival, and that will come out in a future episode. So check them out. You can see their live performances, and then you can come back to that future episode and hear a little bit more about each one. So yeah, check it out. Live Now Festival, Le Pub Facebook page. Go on now, tonight. Thanks. And that's about it. I will hand over to my previous recorded self interviewing the one and only Sean McGowan. I didn't even think of that.
When the funding comes in, we'll pay for a proper podcast recording software.
Wicked. Yeah, we'll upgrade it.
Nice.
This is fine for now, though. Does the job.
It does the trick.
Yeah,
It's
as
all
long as we
right.
have interesting people to talk to.
Yeah, I can't help you
Then
with
we're
that,
fine.
but
So you've just been in the barber shop 24/7 recently, have you?
mate, it's been a lot. Like, yeah, I was doing 9-9 for the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday before lockdown. It's doing 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. No lunch, straight through.
No lunch. It's just mental. What's the
Yeah.
mentality behind getting a pre-lockdown haircut? What?
Oh no.
Why?
Well,
Why?
I think that's sort of the
I'm in.
You are?
I did it.
yeah.
Really?
I totally did it. Totally did
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Totally. Look at my buns.
That's lovely,
Yeah, true.
mate. Good
Yeah,
work.
not bad.
That's
But
nice.
why?
Well,
Who's seeing it? For
well,
all the
I
Zoom calls?
Yeah, well, do you know what I think it really is the lockdown. I'm not sure in the specifics with your lockdown, but nothing's fucking changed here. Like people
Right.
still have to go to work. So like I had my friend in for a haircut on Wednesday. He works for like in telecoms in an office basically, which he
Yeah.
could 100% do from home
Yeah.
anyway, and
But they're making him go in.
making him go in. So he was just like, what did he say? He said something funny. He was like, he's like in love with one of the girls at work or something, and he was just like, I just can't let her see me with like an awful trim, which I was just like, that's kind of sweet in a way, man. Like, yeah, cool.
Yeah.
And
See, for
and it's money for
me,
so
it wasn't. It's Zoom meetings, yeah,
Yeah.
but also how long it took to get an appointment after the end of lockdown last time,
yeah,
Right.
and how many weeks I had to spend working in the pub with terrible hair.
yeah.
Because everyone's experienced lockdowners now. They know what to do.
Yeah,
Know the
they know.
protocol.
We're all vets, aren't we? We're like lockdown
Get your
vets
haircut.
now. Like, yeah, but it's it was weird. It was really weird, man, because I had like for the 3 days, my boss was just like, "Do you want to do them?" No one was forced to work or anything like that. It was just like, if you want to do
Just
them
there.
for that extra cash before a lockdown they're saying is going to take a month, but probably going to take 2 to 3. So we were all like, yeah, cool, we'll do it. I went to sleep with like 2 bookings or something for the day, and then woke up in the morning and I was just fully booked. So I went to bed at like 10:30. In the space between like 10:30 and 10:30 at night, 7:30 in the morning, there'd been like 11 other people or whatever it was that I'd booked in.
No
It
way.
was like, what
The people just
the
waking
fuck?
up in like cold sweats thinking about their bad haircuts.
Yeah, mate, I can't even sell gig tickets that quick. Do you know what I mean? It's mental. Like,
At least you found your right industry. Found
innit?
your calling now.
Finally, after all this time.
Oh, funny. So was it this change of career? Is it like completely forced by current circumstances, or had you already kind of had an inclination to go into this sort of stuff, or what?
I'd had it in the back of my mind for a while. I wanted to do it when I was younger, but I got into touring straight away, and
Yeah.
I think that touring and playing music is definitely my like first love, if you like. But what
Yeah.
I found was that it'd always been in the back of my mind, right? And when the first lockdown happened, obviously bar work and music, my 2 jobs were,
Gone.
with no furlough or anything like that, just because of the nature of the industries. I know it's not the same for everyone, but anyway, so I was just like, right, okay, I need another string to my bow. Spoke to my agent and my manager and stuff, and they were like, you're not going to be touring for a long old time. So I was like, right, I'll take a risk and put every single penny I've got into learning this new trade. And it was going great, man. It was going great. I qualified in like, I think it was like 12 weeks. And
Never. You
yeah,
took some sort of like crash course in barbering,
yeah,
didn't you? Just
yeah,
intensive course.
intense course, yeah. And then got hired at the end of it. So and put in the busiest of the franchise, in the busiest shop. So it's a bit like, it was a sort of bit like, you're quite good at this. All right, do you want a job? I was just like, yeah, please.
Okay.
And then it's been that since. It was just sort of like, there was, it's not even been 5 months yet since I first picked up a pair of scissors, and I've been working on shop floor for like 6 weeks or whatever.
Never.
Yeah, it was quick, really quick.
That is
It's
crazy.
quite interesting as well though, because that it was probably the best decision I'd made, because I stopped pranging out about music and about you know, all of that stuff. I just stopped thinking about it, and I like I'd have texts and stuff, or you know, emails that would go weeks without me even looking at, and then everyone was like chasing me up. It's like, "Are you going to do this or what?" It's like, "Do what? What are you talking about?" It's just like, we started a conversation about, you know, recording your album, or, you know, moving the date of your album. And I was just like, oh yeah, I forgot I did that. So yeah, it's been all engulfing, but it's been good for me.
Yeah,
Really
I can
good for me.
imagine for sure. Yeah, it's tough mentally. Like the first lockdown, I quite enjoyed. Like I wasn't kind of waiting for the end at all. Like I had things to
Yeah.
do. The weather was nice for a start, out in the garden reading a
Yeah.
book, and like it was great having that feeling that by doing nothing, I was still doing something. Like I was still kind of saving lives, almost in a way.
Yeah.
But now, like it just feels different. Like probably because, like you were saying, the lockdowns aren't as harsh. Like things don't seem as drastic, even though
Yeah.
the numbers that I'm seeing seem as drastic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
weird.
I think that's the most confusing thing, isn't it? Like, it's, you know, the Eat Out to Help Out campaign and all of that,
Yeah.
and you're going like, so what? It's all right. It's okay now. You know, we're encouraged
Yeah.
to go out, and I don't know. I think the way my friend described it in his football terms, and was just like, Boris and the Tories have just completely lost the dressing room. Like there's no faith in them. Whether, you know, I'm obviously not a fan of the Tory party anyway, but even, you know, the most sort of militant's the wrong word, but the most dedicated,
Ardent Tories.
yeah, are finding it, you know,
50,
hard if not impossible.
50 of the 80 odd Tory MPs did not vote for the lockdown. I think 30 of them voted against, 20 abstained. If Labour hadn't voted with the Tories for the lockdown would have been refused. And like Labour made the right decision because it's for people's safety.
Yeah.
But Boris is relying on votes from the opposition party to get his movements through, which is
It's insanity, isn't it?
it's
For a party that won such a landslide in the election.
Yeah.
It's just insane.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really weird because my friend Rob, who's in a band called the Winter Passing, who you guys might have heard of, Rob Flynn, who's also a barber in Dublin, and it was like I hadn't really been following lockdown and all the rest of it in Ireland, but my great uncle passed away, and a couple of maybe a month ago, and he was from Ireland but lived in the UK, so he wanted to be buried in Ireland. Anyway, long story short, the rings and the hoops that the family had to jump through, the sort of UK contingency of our family to get over to attend the funeral, because you had to quarantine and all the rest of it. I was just like, okay, like it still is quite severe. And then I saw Rob posted maybe a week or two ago that they were going into a 6-week lockdown. And I was just like, Jesus Christ, there's more people in London than there is in the whole of Ireland, and they're reacting quicker and more effectively than we are. The country, you know,
there's so much.
It's just insane, mate. It's just so late on everything. Yeah. It's like it's like our train service, isn't it? Really, just like ridiculous, mate. It's so bad. But
laughable. You know, sad and laughable.
That's it. And you know, it's scary as well, man. Like I've now, you know, early lockdown, I didn't really know anyone who'd had it, or, you know, had been ill from it. And now, sort of like as the months have gone on, I've not only know people, but I've also met people who've come in. Like I had this guy in who had not had his hair cut since March, because he was unwell in March, and he was in intensive care for a month straight. And now he's like pumped full of steroids and everything, just trying to, you know, he can't stay awake he's tired all the time, you know. So it's not just the catching the virus. I think it's the lasting.
It's long
effects.
COVID. They call it long COVID, don't they?
Long COVID, isn't it? Yeah.
It's really bad. Like the guy that helped us catch Ted, he was on a ventilator for 7 weeks, and he's really, really ill. It's absolutely bad.
It's scary that is scary, because it's so much. That's so, you know, I think the whole the way this was all like sold to us in the right word, but explained to us at the beginning was like, right, you're going to get ill. It's probably going to be for about 2 weeks. You're going to have to quarantine. It's going to suck.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But then in my head, I was going, I remember at the start of maybe March, April time, thinking, I kind of just want to get it out of the way.
I said the exact same thing. Yeah.
Have a shit 2 weeks and then be all right. And now you're seeing,
Yeah.
exactly like Sam said, the long COVID stuff. You're just like, fucking hell, no, I don't want it. I don't want it.
I'll stay away. Fine.
I'll stay at home.
I know. Yeah. And it's scarier because they don't seem to know all about it as well. Like at one point, it was only the old people or people with underlying conditions that could get it.
Yeah.
And then young people get it. And then, like you say, it just changes from day to day.
Going back to underlying conditions, I was told at the beginning of this to shield, I was high risk. My treatment put me at high risk.
Yeah.
I've since found out that my treatment is now being used as a way of controlling the virus because it's an immune suppressant.
Mental.
And what they've learned over the last 8 or 9 months is that it's not the COVID that's killing people.
Yeah.
It's the immune response that the COVID virus causes.
Okay.
Right.
So you get COVID and you get ill, but then your immune system's like, oh, what the fuck is this? Starts attacking you. So if you put people on my medication, they don't have an immune system.
Yeah.
So they're fine.
Right,
Nothing to attack. Yeah.
Insane.
So yeah, I could have been licking tables this whole time. Like, yeah, it's fine.
All that money you could have
Your
saved on
favourite pastime.
disinfectant.
Yeah, exactly, mate. I didn't have to wash my hands, nothing.
Well, that's the other thing. They're saying that all the antibac and the hand sanitizer doesn't really do much now as well. I've heard that. That it's purely airborne and oh god, it just does my head in. Does my head in so much that I don't want to talk about it much more.
Yeah. We can move on.
I just wanted to talk about music. Like, I
just talk about that.
That's all I get to. I can't really see it or go see a show. I just get to talk to musicians now, which is a good second best in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, you said a while back that you would have gone into barbering when you were younger, but you went straight into touring pretty young.
Yeah.
So, like, tell us a bit about that. How you got started in music? Like, when was your first touring? What was your first musical experiences like?
I think like my first proper tour, like an actual scheduled tour with people there, was I think 2012 with Beans on Toast. But prior to that, I was gigging a lot, and sort of it'd be like Winchester, Southampton, Eastleigh, all of the bordering little towns, and I'd class that as a tour, you know. But
I would.
Yeah, 100%, man. You got to small victories. No, I got into it. I sort of fell into it really, man. I was at school. I was playing a lot of guitar, and I enjoyed that. And then I started writing songs, and I don't know. I think there's this part of you that's like you can try and be as, however you want to be about it, but at some point, I think you realise like I'm all right at this. Like this could be a thing. And you just sort of run with it. And I think like that can be anything in life as well. You know, I'm sort of having a weird little moment now with barbering, the same as how I had back then with music, where I'm just like, shit, I'm not shit at this. And I think when you're someone like me, there's a lot of stuff you are shit at. So when you find something that comes to you sort of not naturally, but something that you kind of understand and get, you're like, I'm quite good at sort of locking on and focusing, and so that's how it started with me touring, and then it just got out of hand. One thing led to another, and then then it all sort of like fell into place, really. Well, sort of,
and then fell out of place, and then hopefully will fall back into place again. Who knows?
With a bit of luck, man. With a bit of luck.
Because a lot of your songs reference like your childhood, essentially, growing up, mates, football, and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Which I don't know, was there ever like what's the word? I'm thinking like tug of war in my mind. Like when I was growing up, I got into bands and music and stuff, and there came a day where the rugby coach, rugby not football, Wales and all that, where I wasn't going to be on the team anymore. And he kicked off. I remember it. I wasn't that great, but I was fast, and he wanted me on the team. I was like, nah, I'm doing music. So was there ever a point where like music became the priority for you?
I think so, yeah, man. I think it was probably like college time, like 17, 18, when I was just sort of like for me with college, the first year I did psychology, sociology, English language, and music, and I was pretty shit at all of them, like, and also not there very much. So it was kind of a bit like, all right, this is, I was realizing then, I was like, okay, I still don't like school. I still don't like the system of this form of education and learning. It doesn't, I'm not very good at it. I don't
Yeah,
like
it doesn't
it.
work for you.
I challenge it. It's instinctive for me to challenge authority anyway. So I was just
Yeah.
like, this isn't going to work. But anyway, they called me back. My attendance was so bad, I was about to get kicked out. And the music teacher spoke to me and was like, why don't you just come back next year, start afresh, do full-time music, focus on it, and then you'll get to Leeds or Liverpool Uni, or one of the big music ones. And from then on, he's like, you can go off on tour, you can like form a band. And I was kind of, at first I was just like, yeah, that sounds great, I'll do that. And then in that summer, I think I played my first festival and had been invited on my first tour. And I was just like, why do I have to go to uni and get in loads of debt to go and do something I'm about to go and do already? And from that moment, it was just it was like, right, I can do this. I just need to, dedicate everything to it. And that's what I've done really for the last however many years.
Yeah. Did you say it was one of your teachers in college that encouraged you to do music full time? Yeah.
Yeah. He taught me into it. I mean, like, I later realised that was because he knew I would have got a good grade.
Right.
And that would have helped with their grants for the the following year or whatever.
So there was some nefarious kind of ambition there, but still.
Yeah, I think, like, you can look at it however you will. I think he was a nice enough bloke, so there must have been good intentions in there.
Yeah.
But the way I saw it was, especially at that age, I was just like, you're just using me, man, because I'm going to get like an A or something in this. And the only reason I'm going to get an A in it is because I'd done it all the year before. Do you know what I mean? Well, when the lessons I was there, so I'd already done most of that year's course. So it's just pointless to me. I was turning up and it was like the same worksheets that I'd done the year prior. And I was just sort of like with an age group now younger than me, they're doing their first. So I'm in second year, so they're all a year below me. So there was kids coming through from my school, and they were like, I just found it's such a big step, particularly where I'm in Southampton, where I'm from going from how you are when you're in year 11 to how you are when you're first year of college. Like that is, especially like I went to an all boys school, do you know what I mean, till I was 16.
Oh,
so
right.
Then you're going into to a mixed college is like fucking, do you know what I mean?
Worlds apart.
Yeah, just in terms of behaviour, and then bravado is not important anymore. Stuff like that. Whereas I just spent 5 years in school where I had to be good at fighting, and now I'm in like first year college.
To do schoolwork now?
Yeah, that's it. Well, now you're in the first year of college. If you're good at fighting, you're an arsehole and no one likes you. So it's just like, what?
You're a distraction. Yeah.
Well, I was respected for this before, so it's. Do you know what I mean? It's a lot. It's a lot to. I think for especially when you're that age, you're not equipped to sort of deal with change like that. And it was weird for me. So that's when I decided. I was just like, right, cool, I'm out. I'll go and get whatever job I can to sort of just keep my parents off my back as much as I can, and then try and keep pushing the music.
Full plow and touring, yeah. I was just thinking about what you, even though your teacher had kind of ulterior motives, maybe just his encouragement to do music full time, to put all your effort into this, is something I think is too rare these days. All the creative arts, like music, anything that is seen as like a hobby where you need to go to uni or college, like you were saying, and then you can have your music on the side and you can try and do that. Nobody encourages you to put all your efforts and your focus into these things.
Yeah, it's interesting, man. Like we've all seen it now with our industry torn to shatters, and left to go to shit by it's not respected. It's considered not to be viable. You think like the amount of people sort of Yeah, I did a show with Frank Turner at Clapham Grand, like a social distance one, a couple of months ago.
Yeah, I was going to ask how that was. Yeah,
it was really cool actually. Yeah, it was strange, obviously, but like fair play to everyone at the Grand, to Ali Wolf and everyone at the venue. They everything was
did a good
ran.
job.
Yeah, they did a great job of it. But I was chatting to Dougie, who is Frank's production manager, who is like, I mean, I have no doubt you could put anything that is broken in front of Dougie and give him an hour and it will come back fixed. He's like, he's just that dude. He's so like, he is one of the best people in the music industry as far as I'm concerned. He can just, do you know what I mean? His knowledge is just so extensive, and he's a lovely bloke to boot. And I was just thinking, like, for someone to say that he needs to retrain when he's got he's worked on some of the biggest production that in the UK, like arenas and stuff like that, and you're going, you want this bloke who has a unique talent and a unique insight and a unique education in something that is so specific. You know,
it's beyond insulting.
It really is. Yeah. So that was we didn't foresee this pandemic, obviously, but I thought of myself when I was a kid. I was like, right, this is what I'm good at. I'm not very good at anything else. Let's go with this. Let's try it. And I think a lot of my friends who were really good at football and stuff like that, and some of them who are still playing now, they were much the same. They were like, this is all I'm good at, so I'm just going to try really hard at. I think people find that at different stages of their life. Like friends now, one of my best friends, Lewis, is one of the best sparkies like I've ever seen. Like his work with his electrical work is amazing, but he didn't realize he was good at that till he was 20. He was doing bits and bobs before that, and then now he's doing really well, starting his family, and all the rest of it, and it's like it's amazing to see.
Yeah, but, it's because those things are seen as secondary kind of jobs and professions as well. All the trades, like they're definitely seen as lesser than uni and college when you're growing up.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. Like I know people now, plumbers, electricians, like scaffolders, they're driving around in Porsches and stuff. Like it's not a secondary kind of second class industry at all. I don't know why it's seen that way, painted that way.
Yeah.
They're the ones that are always going to have work as well. People are always going to need their toilet fixed. They're always going to need work
That's
done.
Very, very true.
Yeah,
and that's what's sort of frustrating, though, isn't it? It's like you hate to just throw it under the bracket of like class war or class inequality, but like how else can you explain it? It's just that it is what it is, isn't it?
Yeah. How many plumbers and electricians do you see coming out of Eton? You know what I mean?
Well, like 100%, man. Like, and you can look at it any way you want. And I think the trouble is whenever you go down this road, it's always seen as throwaway comments. But it's like, just use your common sense. Like it's logic. It's not, and it doesn't have to be bickering. It's just reality. It's just the way it is. And but I find it so interesting, man. So many of my friends now, like, so highly skilled in their chosen fields, and you're like, oh, you guys are fucking pretty amazing. Like, especially I've been on a night outs with them, and like we're taking it in turns to like throw up in the garden or something like that. And then next thing I'm like watching where he's on one of them on Instagram, and they're like, in Mayfair in London. My friend Lewis was putting together this massive sort of townhouse. Everything's controlled by an iPad or your iPhone. So like the window shutters, all the lights, the temperature, the cameras, everything. And he's installing that. He has the knowledge to like install that in like a £5 million house or something. And you just and it's trusted to like do that. And you're like, you're cool, man. That's what an achievement.
Yeah, it really is. It's a huge skill. Yeah. One that I couldn't dream of having. Yeah.
No, not me, mate. Not me.
No.
I couldn't be left alone in a £5 million house. I'd have all the silverware in my pockets walking out.
Just jangling on your way out.
Like a magpie.
linking up the two topics we've been talking about, the politics and the music. Like, you've done some pretty political stuff in your music in the past. I'm thinking of like going all the way back to what's it called? All the Best. Back in like 2012. That's a pretty kind of just raging against what was going on. But like I say, that was all the way back in 2012. Like, what were your thoughts behind it then? Have they changed now? And kind of where do you think we are in terms of that?
I don't think they've changed really. I still that's the problem, isn't it? Is that
you're right.
Is that Sam on the phone?
Sam on the
I'll just
phone. Mute it. She's frozen, pointing at her phone as well. That's well funny.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, no, it's. I don't think it's really changed, mate. I think it's still there. I think the thing that has changed is that I realise you can be as direct as you want, and there's always room for that. But I've just it's been hard, man. Like having that, carrying that sort of burden, and then having people sort of like coming to you for advice or something, and you're like, I'm just woefully underqualified. Well, for everything I do, but yeah, no, it hasn't changed, man. It's still the same. It still feels the same, and I still feel.
What were there like specifics of things you were talking about back then when you wrote that song?
Well, I think when you're, how old would I have been in 2012? Was that 8 years ago? So I'd have been like 19. So like, friends doing jail time, stuff like that for wrongly, in my opinion. Friends, dads losing their jobs and being made redundant. Industry changing. Just everything around me. I think I'm just quite observant and quite absorbent. I think I just
you can tell, definitely.
Just and subconsciously most of the time, it just sort of happens. Do you know what I mean? I just sort of notice stuff without really trying too hard. I think that's always been a thing in my writing where if I'm describing a scene, I can remember like what it smelt like, what it looked like, like what time of day it was. Like
really paints a picture.
Yeah, one of my best friends described it best. He was just like, "You're not very good at songwriting. You're just quite good at remembering stuff." And I was just like, "Yeah, all right, I'll take that."
Your songs are shite, but they're good memories. At least.
That's exactly it, man. And I couldn't agree more. But yeah, man, yeah.
Yeah, it definitely, they for me, I think listening to your songs paints a picture for sure. Like I'm thinking of Spring Hill,
right?
Which always is like a very kind of personal autobiographical song. Was there ever with that song or any of the others? Was there a point where you were like, this might be a bit too personal. This might be a bit too close. Was there any like a hesitancy to put those things into songs or?
Yeah, I think so, man. Like, for instance, like that song, I had to run that by my best mate, and I had to send it over to him and be like, "Look, I've done this. If you don't want it to go anywhere, it won't go anywhere. If it gets your approval, like, I think it's worth releasing and all the rest of it. There's been a few times where I've sort of gone like, it might be a bit close to the bone there. I might have pushed it too far, but like." I try not to name people.
Right.
I try like quite. I mean, sometimes it will happen, but like usually I try to avoid naming people. So it's only the way I see it, the people who know the actual story I'm talking about are only the people in my close circle. And if they already know the story, they already know the story.
Yeah,
so,
you're not revealing anything, I guess. Yeah,
it's not like I'm telling secrets or going behind anyone's back or anything like that. It would all be common knowledge amongst my sort of friend group and stuff. But there has been times where I've been a bit like, oh fuck, I better warm my neck in it. Like that's a bit close. Like I might get like be out in town one night and someone's just gonna come up behind me and give me a slap or something. But,
that was about me, wasn't it?
Yeah. But the funniest ones are when there's sort of people in the outer circle of like friendship groups where things are about them and they have no idea and they just like love the song or whatever, and you're just like, oh, thanks, man. Yeah, thanks, man. There was a comment about someone being like playing up and being an arsehole, and it's always that guy who's like pissed off his nut, like in a pub somewhere. Oh, it's great to see you, man. That song you put out, so good. He's just like, oh, thanks. Fuck. But yeah, it's a bit like that. But I try, I try. It's not. I think it's unfair to like call people out on that platform unless they're other musicians and they can do it back to you. You know, they need to.
For sure.
I think people need to be able to defend themselves and stuff like that. So I try not to do it too much. Or if I do, it's always sort of vague and not too. I don't want to get sued, put it that way. So
that's the summary of it. But the other thing when you write songs as like open and honest and personal as yours is you walk a fine line between like honesty and openness and cliche. A lot of songs, if they were from other people, could be just be cliche. Like there was one, I was listening to a song the other day. There was a closing line in one of the songs. I can't remember exactly, but something like my mates are my mates for a reason, and I wouldn't change them for the world.
Yeah.
And I heard that, I was like, yeah, that's cool. But I can imagine it being proper shite if it was in just like a generic factory produced pop song. You know what I mean? Like, how do you walk that tightrope? Is it conscious or?
Well, I think like I try and write as honestly and openly as I can, and I think what the reason I can get away with stuff like that, I guess, for want of a better phrase, is that that's just how I talk and how I am and how I think and how I project myself. And
so it's not artificial at all. Yeah,
I don't really have a say in it. Do you know what I mean? It's just sort of like how I am, and the amount of like shite that comes out of my mouth. Do you know what I mean? It just whilst chatting to people, like it's only natural that it's going to come through, you know, in writing as well. But I think that's it. I think a lot of it is phrasing. There's a guy called Damien Dempsey, an Irish singer-songwriter. He's amazing. And he sometimes gets slagged off because he sings in like a very North Dublin, I think it is, North Dublin accent. And so he gets like a lot of shit for the way he writes and his accent and stuff like that. And so it says people say it's simplistic and all the rest of it. But I just think that's really unfair because I think in his mind he's writing about things that are happening locally to him and in his community for people around him and in his community. So he's writing universally so everyone understands it. Do you know what I mean? He could go in and he could fucking throw the dictionary in a song if he wanted to, but what's the fucking point when, you know,
that's not what he's trying to do.
Well, that's it. When you think, you know, when back in times when people couldn't read, they were told stories, you know, by like song, like 9 times out of 10, you know, particularly in Irish history as well. That's why song's so important and how, you know, communication and stories and all the rest of it was passed around. And then even looking like in like London with Cockney rhyming slang, you know, they're true. It's a different language to communicate. I mean, it's for the market stalls and all the rest of it, but that's how they communicated, and that's how they, you know, evaded police and all the rest of it. And it's but I find that really interesting. You know, I find the sort of like, you know, not trying to be something you're not. Just do it the way you've always done it. And then people like it, amazing. If people don't like it, then, you know, they can go and listen to Ed Sheeran or, you know, whatever they want. And that's also fine.
That's fine. If that's what they're into. Yeah. It's true. I kind of, in my kind of attempts at songwriting, I'm always trying to, I don't know, like make things more eloquent. Like I'm trying to make it art, I guess, which it just, I don't know, it doesn't come across, but I think that's kind of a natural thing for songwriters to do, trying to make things better than they need to be. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Rolling a turd in glitter.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's an interesting one. I think like some people get away with it, but I think if you're going to do that, you need a persona. Like, right. Do you know what I mean? You need to be like, you need to become whatever you're projecting in order for it to be believable. So like Tom Waits is a brilliant example of that. I think, you know, like all of his, Like I'm a massive Tom Waits fan. I love Tom Waits, and Closing Time is one of my favorite records ever. But like, you need to be larger than life and a caricature of yourself anyway in music, just while you're on stage. Otherwise, it's fucking boring. But like, to do something like that, you know, and write kind of weirdly and slightly differently, you know, you need to become a character and
embody that.
And I know so many songwriters that do that, like friends of mine. I wouldn't name them just in case they wouldn't want to be thrown under that bracket. And whether or not they agree with it, it's true. You know, in my opinion, it's true. Like, you
perspective, innit?
Yeah. So they're like some sort of philosophizer, as they said in Dodgeball. But it's cool.
Any
man.
interest in that? Any interest in a Sean McGowan alter ego kind of thing? Or
Oh, mate, only the drunken one, John McGowan. I've been trying to get rid of him for the last 10 years. So
we should do that. Just get you proper loaded and see what album you come up with. Just put you
mate.
straight in the studio and see what happens.
Don't fucking hell. Anything could happen. All bets would be off then.
Going back to, you mentioned Ed Sheeran briefly, like, because on paper you're a solo artist with an acoustic guitar. Oh, balls.
Ooh. This is well funny that the Zencaster thing's still recording, so you can still hear me whilst this Zoom link's gone down. Here we go. It's up now. You see me now? There we go.
Yeah, there we are. I hate that. It just cuts me out. There was a timer going the whole time as well, and I still lost track of it. Oh well.
Was Zencaster still running? So
Zencaster's still running the whole time. So if you were slagging me off in the meantime, I was unprofessional.
I wasn't slagging you off. I was just talking to you on it. They'd probably be quite handy for editing purposes when you go through.
Yeah, bit of continuity.
yeah. Sorry, you were saying anyway.
I was saying, because you mentioned Ed Sheeran. On paper, like, you two have similarities, just solo artists, acoustic guitars, but you're just worlds apart, kind of thing. Like, why do you think that some acoustic artists are kind of welcomed in the more like DIY punk kind of scene, and others are just not there? Like, not that they're not welcome, it's just that they're somewhere different completely.
Well, I think like an example like Ed Sheeran's really is a good one, because he crosses, like, I've got no hate for the guy at all.
No,
I think he's, you know, unbelievably talented, and I think I think a lot of his music's quite vanilla for my taste. But that's only my opinion. I don't hate him for it, and also I think by doing that, he's been accepted by so many other artists for collaborations and so many different genres and so many different worlds. And do you know what I mean? Like, if an Ed Sheeran song came on in the barbershop, like, I wouldn't skip it. Do you know what I mean? I'd just be like, cool, whatever. Yeah. And that he's written good songs as well, very good songs. Oh, obviously, otherwise he wouldn't be a multimillionaire and you know all the rest of it. But I think, like, I don't know. I think it's very much it's a lot of it's politics and like morals, and you know, like, I think to be that massive pop star, you need to be quiet and on so many things, and very like you can't be confrontational, or do you know what I mean? Like, it's that side of the music industry, in terms of the A&R, the labels, everything is like, to me, it's just filthy. Like, I've got no interest in it. It's like slimy. Do you know what I mean? And you know, it's a conveyor belt of artists going around, and like, if you're hot 1 minute and that's fucking wicked, making loads of money,
the next,
and then you're gone. Yeah, and the thing is as well is, you know, like, the industry's changing. The money, there isn't the money there once was, even prior to the pandemic. So you know, that's why I think there are less one-hit wonders now, because artists don't get a load of money chucked at them and go, this might work, let's see how this goes. That doesn't happen as much anymore. Everything's a bit more calculated, but still there is just a conveyor belt. It's a conveyor belt, and it's like trial and error, hit or miss. You either work or you don't. And that's never really interested me. Whereas in the sort of more sort of DIY scene, it's just, for me anyway, it's a bit more wholesome. It's a little bit more, people give a shit more. You know, it's hard to budget anything, and it's fucking almost impossible to budget anything. But you know, I'm happy.
What do you
that-
mean? What do you mean by that? Hard to budget anything?
Well, just because there's no money in it, you know, like
Right.
so if
Just
you're
hard to afford to actually do things.
yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Because you know, the idea of going on a 3-week tour is brilliant, and you know, playing every night for £100 or whatever, that's great. But when you factor in your expenses, you know, it's costing you to go on that tour, and then
Yeah.
when you think about that, the sort of when the logic hits in, you're like, hang on, I've just worked, you know, 2 months straight in a, you know, to be fair, I like my bar job, so that's not a good example. But JD Sports, for instance, when I was working there, I just worked
Yeah.
2 months straight for minimum wage to pay off my losses on the tour I've just done.
Yeah.
You're like, fucking hell, that's like, this is insane.
It's a stark
I think,
reality.
yeah.
Mhm.
And then you start questioning yourself, which is hard. That's when you're questioning yourself and going like, how long can I do this for, you know? And then in recent years, the money's got slightly better, where I sort of sell more tickets and more people like what I do. So it's, you know, I was sort of living off it, and you know, not living particularly well, but living, and it was great.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I was happy, and I was content with that. So I think, you know, the main difference between sort of like someone like me and someone like Ed Sheeran is I will unapologetically be who I am, and I
Yeah.
think he will be whoever he's needed. You know, this sounds so dreadful, and this is only my opinion, but with an artist
course,
like
yeah.
that, he will be whoever he needs to be that day in that writing room. So if he
Right.
needs to write a song for Taylor Swift to make him $1 million or whatever, he will be that person, and that's fine. I don't judge him for that. I hate him. But if I went into a writing room with Taylor Swift, I would obviously take a selfie first, but I would then be like, I would only write what, you know, Taylor Swift would be talking about. I don't fucking like getting chased by the old Bill or something out of a boozer in Millbrook or something like that, and everyone would be like, "What the fuck is Taylor Swift talking about?" Whereas he can go, he would be able to write from that perspective of,
Right.
you know, a female in the music industry from, I'm not sure where she's from in America, but from wherever she's from, you know, he'd be able to do that, and I don't think I would.
Yeah.
I could empathize, absolutely, but to be able to, like, you know, write that way, I don't think I got it in my locker, and I don't think I'd be happy doing it either.
No, yeah, I don't think so. I think, yeah, the people kind of in your genre do what they do because they love it. Like like they could do something else, but they really don't want to do anything else. You know what I mean? Like this is their calling almost.
Yeah. But don't get me wrong though, there are far too many white guys with beards and acoustic guitars, like running around the circuit crying about their ex-girlfriends, and I include myself in that, you know, crying about ex-girlfriends, or like, you know, putting the world to rights, and it like it bores me. Do you know what I mean? Half the time I always find like it's something that always happens, right? Every time I announce a tour or a show, I get before like, you know, anything sort of, it would be like, I'll do an announcement at 10 a.m, not look at my phone for an hour because I don't want to, do you know what I mean? I'm just like, right, fuck it, that's out, deal with that later, go off and make myself a coffee, what, you know, get on with my day. And I come back, it's sort of like 11 or 12, and I notice at like 10:02, there's been people messaging me asking to like support or whatever, you know, and all that stuff. And I'm just like, okay, cool. So you go and check it out, and they're essentially doing, there's only so much like you can do with a storyteller and acoustic guitar, in my opinion. You know, there's and I'll just be like, I'll listen to them, and 9 times out of 10 they're very good, but I'm like, then you think about the show and go, does someone really want to pay £10 a ticket to come and see basically the same set from, you know, twice? And the answer is no. And and the perspectives are always similar, and that's not to like mug anyone off, because I don't mean to do that, and I wouldn't do that, and not not for something like this anyway. But it's sort of you've just got to think about there's a reason why I work with Billy Bragg, right?
Yeah.
Is that me and Billy Bragg have loads of similarities, like hundreds of them. He's my idol for one of them. One of my idols, not quite Joe Strummer level, but he's up there. But the
Getting it.
reason
You
we
still
work,
got time.
yeah, absolutely, man. But the reason me and him work together is because there are enough differences. Same with me
Right.
and Frank Turner. There are millions similarities, but the reasons we work together on a bill is because there are enough differences to make us, different viewpoints, different ages, different points of our life,
Yeah.
and also it's, it breaks it up, and I think what one of the problems we're having at the moment is in this industry is that like there are so many people doing very very similar things, competing for the limited opportunities. And I
Mm-hmm.
think it's where over the sort of maybe 5 years ago, everything was a lot more everyone in this together. That's when there were more festivals, when there were more venues, when there were more tours, when there were more everything. Everyone was kind of like, okay, cool. I'll introduce you to this person. This person might take you around tour. All the rest of it. It was
Yeah.
a lot more camaraderie. Whereas now the opportunities are so slim. It's gone back to sort of a little bit more dog eat dog and protect your
Is it
own.
really?
And
Oh, that's unfortunate.
it has, yeah. And I'm not into that. I can't be fucked with that.
No.
Do you know what I mean? That's not for me. The sort of
I
thing
feel
like
that's kind of... Go on.
well, it's just basically saying like if you can't like celebrate your mates doing well and can't be happy for your mates, at the point I start competing with my friends, that I'm fucking out, man. Like,
Yeah.
do you know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? I'm done. Like, that's
Yeah.
not for me anymore. But that's just
It's
the way I
sad that
look
that's
at it.
happening already as well, because I don't think
Yeah.
like the end is in sight of this sort of thing. To be honest, you know what I
No.
mean? Like we're not getting
Yeah.
back to how things were for a long old while, and if we're
Yeah.
already getting kind of more dog eat dog and at each other's throats, where are we going to be a year from now? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that Frank Turner show I did in Clapham is a really good example because I will add the comments have since been removed by this person, and I won't name drop them, but there was someone basically being like, "Oh, there's finally a show happening. Obviously, the show gets offered to Frank offers the show to his mate rather than a new up and coming artist." And I was just like thinking about it, and I was going like, do you reckon they've read what they've said and been like, obviously he offers the show to his mate? It's just like,
Yeah,
we've been in lockdown for like however many months, and he's just
yeah,
gone, I can help my mate out who's been out of work for 5 months, whatever it is.
yeah.
And I can also see my mate who I've not seen for
Mm,
5 months. Why wouldn't he off, do you know what I mean? And I
yeah,
was just kind of like, what your problem is fundamentally is that he hasn't asked you to do the show.
yeah,
That's what
yeah, yeah, yeah.
fundamentally is the problem.
Mm-hmm.
But also in your head, the logic you're attaching to that is that he should, use that platform and that opportunity to, you know, to bring in something new that he's not even heard of. And you're kind of like,
Right.
mate, he's doing a limited capacity show, a
Yeah,
one-off thing that's not even covering his costs. Do you know what I mean? He's
yeah.
trying to give as many of his crew work, and he's trying to give his mates work. And like, I think that's a
What's wrong with
commendable
that?
thing. Yeah, I think that's
Yeah,
commendable rather than,
yeah. There's a time
But
and a place. Like
yeah,
Frank Turner, he's done world tours, obviously, and then you can have different acts at different legs of the
yeah,
tour, different gigs. You can have multiple acts. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
that's the time and the place to bring out this new talent.
yeah,
If it's just what one limited capacity gig, one you want to
yeah,
bring in as many people as you can. You want to make your
yeah,
costs
yeah. Of
back, like you
course.
were saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, and two, you just can't take those kind of risks. Like, what world do you
Mhm.
think we're living in? It does.
It's interesting, man. I think like I don't know. I think we're going to see over. I personally, sadly, don't think we're going to see tour until probably 2022 now, earliest.
You reckon? Yeah,
That's just my opinion.
yeah,
So I'm just like I worry about my friends in the industry at every level. where we're going to be in that time and what's going to be left of at that time, because I made the decision. I had to retrain, because it's sort of like at 27 as well. I was so insulted by what Rishi Sunak said, and so personally sort of like hurt by that. Partly because I'd already made that decision for myself before he suggested it. Because I was just like, "Fuck you! Don't." Do you know what I mean? I honestly think I probably could have made it work by the skin of my teeth if I was prepared to rip people who are invested in me off, and
play the game,
come out with play the game, come out with loads of like shit merch and just all of that stuff. I think I probably could have done that and made a living off of the people who've supported me for the last 10 years. And I was just like, morally, I can't do it. I can't do it. And I didn't want to do it. And I didn't think the people who'd invested their time and love and support in me over the years deserved to, like, I don't think that's a nice way to back. I don't think it was right. So I made the decision. I was just like, cool, like, I'll have to put this on the back burner for a little while and go and try and get a trade. That was important for me, get a trade that people needed me for. I needed to be there for, and that I'd always had an interest in barbering. So that's how that sort of just came together. But I don't know, man, I've got all of these principles and morals and stuff that I've instilled in me, and whether they're right or wrong, is what it is. And I'm trying really hard not to judge others as harshly for the way they do things, because it is so difficult at the moment. But like, there's been a few things I've seen where people are like trying to shift some shite merch or something, and you're going like, you've brought out 4 different t-shirts in 3 weeks, they've all been shit, and you're basically guilt tripping your fans into buying them. Like, what the fuck is that? Right. But
I know, desperate times, desperate measures, I guess. For
exactly that. Yeah. So and like I said, man, I see why people do it, and I don't hate them for it, but I just don't want to do it. Not for you. I don't want to put my name to something that I don't think is good. So
do you think those outdoor kind of distanced shows will be more of a common thing?
Well, I did a driving show. I think I'm told it was the first one in the UK, and it was good fun, but it was difficult. Like, it was difficult to play, and it was difficult to sort of connect. And it was, for my a solo. If I did it with a band, it probably would have been fine. We could have just smashed out the tunes, and I could have had the interaction with the band on stage, and
of course, I didn't know it was just you.
It was a solo show, and like, don't get me wrong, it was fun, man, and I needed it. But it wasn't like, it was just missing something. And I'm like,
so were people just in their cars?
Just outside of their cars, so
they were allowed out of their cars.
So they could like sit on the bonnet, or everyone could come out of a certain side of their car. To like keep it in the social distancing. And dude, that it was like £40 a ticket for that. So you buy a ticket for a car, basically.
Oh, okay. That was so £40 per person.
Not £40 per person, £40 per car.
Okay, that's not too bad.
Yeah, which is, so it's a £10 a head, roughly. There's 5 of you, a little bit less, £8 or whatever it is. So it's a fair price. But I remember when we were doing the dealings with that, sort of looking at the maths and going like, I'm getting paid this much and you're charging them that much. And I was kind of like, what? Like, this isn't right. Do you know what I mean? Like, and then when you look at the expenses and the costs of running that show, and you're like, oh, that's why I'm only getting paid that much, because it costs X amount of money to put this on. So this is just a very long-winded answer to your question of saying I don't know if that's sustainable to do.
I know what you mean, and especially for like grassroots venues as well. Like, we haven't got a pray at Le Pub of doing something like that. Like, you need the space, you need the initial investment, you need the sound system and everything. It's just not going to happen. So I don't know what the future is for grassroots, because then
No.
in the very long term, without the
Yeah.
grassroots, you don't get the bigger artists. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
everyone starts in the smaller places, so yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know what the future holds.
I think that's what is, so concerning now about the future of the live music industry. Like, because you had music venues trust are amazing, and there are
Yeah.
there's so many people who are working so hard, and I commend them, because like to keep that level of motivation and stuff and dedication, I wouldn't be able to do it. So I tip
No,
my hat
it's
to
impressive.
I really do tip my hat to them. I thank them for everything they're doing. But
Yeah.
the way I'm sort of like looking at it now is going like, I've worked in obviously Le Pub before, worked in the
Yeah.
Joiners, toured extensively for 10 years. Like, I obviously have a deeper like rooted affiliation with the live, the grassroots live music scene. And
Yeah.
but there's got to be a point where you sort of, where you've got to, the way I see it is, I need to be useful where I can be useful. Otherwise, I'm just another voice in an already confusing conversation. Do you know what I mean? Voice of
Yeah.
solidarity, I'm all for, but like, I can't. There's been a lot of people saying a lot of stuff recently, and I don't think with good intentions for it to be positive. And I think it's been more certain voices have been more detrimental, and I worry that if I was to get too heavily involved in the conversation, I would end up doing more harm than good. I don't think I'm the
Right.
right person for, and I think that that's also been my stance recently politically, where I don't think I'm at a place where I'm useful to the fight that I want to support. I think if anything, I'll
No.
probably be more detrimental. So it's sort of like, it's that some of my mates give me shit and say that's just a coward's way out, and it's like, it's not, man. It's considered. I mean, people may think that, but to me, I'm trying to be more considered and more effective than
Yeah.
than just than just doing my fortnightly tweet of saying "fuck the Tories," which obviously I'll do that forever. But like,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? I feel like I want to be more useful than that.
Yeah. But there's a difference. I feel like what you're saying isn't just saying nothing. Like
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't feel like that's what you're heading towards. From what I'm picking up, you're taking a more considered approach, like
yeah,
saying the things that you definitely mean and that you think will be productive and helpful. But
yeah,
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 the coward's way out would just be to say nothing.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
some of these artists that we've talked about already, that they
yeah,
just don't get involved. They
yeah,
don't
yeah,
like, and I guess that's fine. Like if they don't want
yeah.
to, they don't have to. You can't force anyone into
Absolutely, yeah,
anything. But I feel like in the current climate, in the world that we live in, like politics isn't as separate as it once was. You know what I mean? Like it's
yeah,
not
yeah,
just I'm Labour, you're Tory, we're all happy, we're all kind of better people, and we're all friends. Like
yeah.
it's so much more polarized and tribal, I guess, is the word that's coming to mind.
No,
And
yeah, I completely agree with that.
yeah, and
Definitely.
I don't like that. I don't think
Mm.
that's a positive thing at all. Like that's
No, I
not
agree.
good. But yeah, people, I don't know how to fix that. I said in the first episode with Sam
Yeah,
that people just need to talk more. I
yeah,
think
yeah,
you can just find common ground that way. Whereas there's this tendency, and I don't know if it's just what I've seen, but it seems to be a tendency on the left sometimes to just shut down conversation instead of
yeah,
engage with people,
yeah.
which
Yeah,
is
it's the point scoring element as well as just
yeah,
like, it's scathing, and it's not a battle of, it's not all, well, this isn't to generalize all political conversation on the left in the same way,
no,
but
of course, yeah, yeah,
and and also I am definitely guilty of this, where it's like whoever's wittier wins the argument rather than
yeah,
whoever's making the best points.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I myself am 100% guilty of that. Particularly on Twitter, where it's just sort of like, the trouble is, you can be like sat on the toilet or something like that, and it's someone who opposes your opinion can get at you, and you're like,
Mm-hmm.
you'd be sat there, sat on the bog, or that's a really bad example. You're gonna be like led on the sofa. Let's go for that. It's less shitty that way. You'd be like led on the sofa watching fucking like, I don't know, like The Chase or something, and then you got some dickhead from like across the country, you know, Blackburn or somewhere like that, giving you a load of shit, and you're just like,
Mm-hmm.
you're thinking he might be making some very good points in that, but I'm also thinking like, you are a dickhead behaving like a dickhead. I am now gonna let everyone see. I'm now gonna expose you for being a dickhead, acting
I'm
like a
gonna make
dickhead.
you look like a mug. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm gonna, and then you sort of you do it, and then all you know, like all of the people who follow me will be liking it, and I'm putting all the crying, laughing faces. And then a couple of hours later, I'll just be like, "Is that guy a dickhead? Like, was he just being a bit sassy, and he's actually not a dickhead, and I've just completely fucking rinsed him for for
I
like
know what
no
you mean.
reason." And you're
And like the
battling with
Twitter
yourself.
platform, the battle. But I think social media in general, but maybe specifically the Twitter platform,
Yeah,
it takes away our ability to think about why that person might be being a dickhead.
yeah,
Like we don't
absolutely.
know their background. We don't know
Yeah,
why they think that way. We don't know what's happened to them, what's happened to that day previously in their life, and we don't really think
yeah,
that. Like,
yeah.
and I think it's an important part of the conversation.
I completely agree with you there. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a really strange one. Like over this like raising funds for music venues trust and stuff. So like when lockdown 1 happened, it was really interesting for me because I was dealing with losing all of my income and like
Right.
trying to process that personally, and being sort of like having the realization of being 27 years old, still living in my parents' house, and being effectively unemployed. And I was
Yeah.
kind of like, I've worked all my life, do you know what I mean, since I was 16, and I was kind of like, all right, this is emotionally and personally taxing, and that was something I was really struggling with. So I was thinking about ways of what I could monetize, and how I could monetize something, but keep within my sort of parameters of being morally and um, you know morally fair to people who would potentially be investing in whatever I was doing. So
Yeah.
I started doing those live streams, and
Yeah. Yeah.
I did a few of them, and they were good, and they like through people's generosity that tided me over, man. I'd have been
Oh
I
wow.
I don't know what I would have done without that, and the likelihood is I'm probably gonna go back to doing another couple of them in the next couple of weeks, because I've the first lockdown the Tories took 2 jobs away from me, but this time around they've taken 3 jobs off me after I've invested every penny I had into learning a
Into the
fucking
third
trade.
one.
But yeah, so I was getting loads of requests to do stuff for the Music Venues Trust, and of which like, I was agreeing to most of them, and it got to a
Yeah.
point where I was like, with the streams, because that's my only income, that people would go in, oh, will you do a stream for? And I said, I'm really sorry, this is the one thing I've got for me. Like
Right.
I'm not prepared to like give that up, because that is
Yeah.
literally how I'm gonna
You're
pay for
living.
food. Yeah,
Yeah.
pay for anything. But then it was also a lot of like, basically a lot of chances going, do you want to sit? Do you want to sing on my new single? It's all about whatever. I was just like, are you doing all proceeds to Music Venues Trust? I was like, are you doing this single to support the Music Venues Trust, or are you using that platform to try and
To
boost?
support you.
Yeah, and it was like
Yeah.
that was the thing, and then that was really hard to like deal to balance that, because I mean I think I'm probably naturally a pessimist anyway, but I found that difficult. I found that really difficult because I was getting daily, maybe 4 or 5 a day, and it was
Never.
just like of people I'd never met, never spoken to before, and
Yeah.
they were just like, it'd be stuff like, I've written this song, I want you to be in the video, and then just post about it, or which isn't much of an ask really, but
Yeah.
I was kind of like, it seems to me like you are just trying to boost your profile through something that's actually tragic, And
off the back
yeah,
of this pandemic.
exactly that. And I was just like,
Yeah.
I was trying to make sure I was polite to everyone and just be like, I'm really sorry, I can't do that. I'm busy, or just be honest and be like, guys, I'm really not in the right fucking headspace for anything like that right now. I do apologize, and I wish you all the best of luck with it and stuff. But that was another thing that was like super difficult, man. And I'm sort of like bracing myself for when that starts happening again. I looked at my emails before I came onto you, and I've already seen a few little bits. I was just like, right, don't deal.
Starting.
I was like, don't deal with that now. Get onto that later. And that's not that's not to say that I'd be fucking beneficial for anyone, because I think I'd probably wreck their song, and then probably turn the fan base they do have already against them. So it's like, guys, like, aim bigger. Do you know what I mean? Like, aim bigger than
the
me.
wrong person.
Yeah, I'm a fucking barber, mate. What am I going to do? Like,
Oh, funny.
Yeah, it's funny.
How much time you got? I didn't even ask before we did
I'm
this.
good, man.
You good? Cool.
I'm cool. Yeah.
I wanted to talk a bit about your last EP. Curate Calm, Create Chaos.
Yeah.
How long ago has that come out now? It's been out for a little while, right?
Yeah, I mean, without looking at the release date on Spotify, I couldn't tell you how long it's been out for. Or
so I remember last time you were working in Le Pub, you were finishing it then. Yeah, like last summer-ish.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, something like that. Yeah. It came out at the end of last year, I think.
Yeah. How's the reaction been to that? How do you feel about it since then, kind of thing?
Yeah, really cool. It went really well, actually. I think everyone was sort of like, in my team, was a bit like, you've just done a full band album that did better than any of us were kind of expecting, and the full band tour did better than any of us expected. And
so
now
was this your first full band release?
Yeah, I did an EP, Graft and Grief, before the album Son of the Smith, but the album, things sort of elevate. I'd done a lot of touring. I owe a lot of I owe most of my career to the live side of things. That I've not had much support in terms of, I've had bits, don't get me wrong, John Kennedy and stuff like that on radio, but it's all from live really with me. So everyone was just a bit confused. I think, like, why are you doing this? And then it was like, there was a big issue with the money side of stuff, because I don't think people thought that, without naming names or anything like that, I don't think people really believed in that EP, and also believed it being a good move. I think everyone was kind of like, no, like, you need to do something with the band, not solo. This is, credit to my management and my agent. Actually, they backed me all the way. They were like, yeah, do whatever you want to do, man. Like, you're on deals with us where you've got creative control. So do whatever the fuck you want. We'll support you. We'll only tell you if we think something's a terrible idea for your benefit, and it's not. And they were like, and it's not a terrible idea, so crack on. and it did really well. It did really well. People really connected with it. It meant I could tour. It meant I could, get out and get on the road, and it meant I could sort of recover some of the costs I'd lost from some of the money I'd lost from doing the full band stuff, where that's obviously super expensive, paying the band and facilitating the band and all the rest of it. So it was a really good move, man. Like, from my perspective, I think everyone was sort of shocked at how well it did. And also, like, I think people thought, when it first came out, people think of an EP as a lesser entity than an album.
That's true. Yeah, like
whether
a
we like it
or whatever.
Exactly that, man. And I just think, like, the way in which people digest music and listen to music is changing dramatically. And I think no one's got an attention span really for like a long album. Like, no one's got the time. Do you know what I mean? If you're listening to a record on your commute to work, most people's commutes are, most people, of course, isn't the same for everyone, are like 30 minutes or under. So if you've got a 45 minute minimum album, people can't listen to the whole thing on a on a journey to work, and my whole kind of thing was like I wanted everything to be part of something, like I always wanted to be one of those artists where people could tell you the song but know what album it was on, not necessarily an EP,
Right.
but like an album. They go, oh yeah, that's
Right.
from. Because I'm not one of those people. I have all my favorite songs in the world, and they'd be like, "What album is that from?" And I'd be like, "I think the album cover was blue." Do you know what I mean? That's all I
Came
know.
out during the 70s, maybe.
Exactly that. Yeah, I'd never know the date or anything. So
Yeah.
so I wanted to make records like that. That people were quite invested in.
Yeah.
But it was what it was, man, and like it did well. People reacted well, and I think
Yeah.
was surprised at it as well.
That's good. That must have been good to like prove the haters, for want of a better word, wrong. To just kind of throw it back at them.
I've always loved that, man, in my career. I feel like I've been doing that since I fucking started, mate. Since I was like first in college, I feel like I've been trying, doing a lot of stuff I do in spite of people, like proving people wrong. But yeah, man, it went well. It went well.
I'm glad to hear it. The title, I feel, has taken on a bit of a new meaning to me at the moment. Because I remember you telling me the title. We stood outside the pub. I remember it, Curate Calm, Create Chaos. I was like, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
And to me at the time, like it sounded like they were opposites. Like if I can't create calm, then I'll create chaos, kind of thing. Like they were opposite ends of the spectrum. But now I feel like after lockdown, I'm dying for a bit of chaos. You know what I mean? Like I just need some chaos. I feel like they're part of the same whole now. Like you need some calmness, you need some chaos, and without either one, you end up going nuts. Like I don't want too much chaos. Don't get me wrong. I just need summing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's interesting that because it comes from that the title comes from a lyric, and the lyric is, "If I can't curate calm, I create chaos."
Oh, it is. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's if I can't curate calm, I create chaos. If it ain't bolted down, it's going out the window. And and it was like I actually wrote that on that specific lyric on that full band tour, and I was just whilst driving the van with Jay, my bass player, in the like passenger seat, and I was driving along, just sort of thinking about everything and about like my relationship at the time with the music industry and the hoops I was jumping through and stuff like that and all of that stuff. And I was basically thinking about throwing my fucking toys out the pram. And then I thought of the lyric, I thought of that line, and I said to Jay, I was like, Jay, can you do me a favor? Can you text me this, please? So I got, as I was driving along, so I like said the line, I got Jay to text it to me, so I didn't forget it. But then when I decided that was going to be the title of that record, I think that's when the meaning of the phrase sort of developed. I think initially it was as simple as being, if I can't create calm, I'm going to create chaos.
I'll create chaos.
But I think the balance element of it, and it that developed through recording and then releasing, and it sort of came into itself because yeah, man, like lockdown puts stuff like that in perspective, exactly like you're saying.
It does.
Just like all I fucking had is calm, man. Like some carnage. And you need the balance. And but yeah, so I think if to be honest about that, I think that sort of came after the specific lyric, the line came first. But the meaning sort of evolved a little bit.
It's kind of cool that happens though. Like once you make something and put it out into the world, like it kind of takes on a life of its own. Usually just because of the different people listen to it, but I guess it changes as the world changes as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think whenever you like, for an example, I started watching Star Wars again because I watched Star Wars as a kid, and I was like, it was cool, but I was like, I don't have a fucking clue what's going on here. I straight over my head. Like,
lightsabers. That's about it.
That's exactly it. Yeah. So I watched The Phantom Menace yesterday. What a load of shite that is. Started watching the one after,
And I loved that
Anakin
when I was a kid as well. I
Yeah,
loved the Phantom
exactly
Menace.
that.
Yeah.
Me too, mate.
Which
When
is
I was
weird.
a kid,
That's probably just because of double lightsabers. One
yeah, right,
lightsaber's
yeah,
good.
Darth Maul.
2 lightsabers, oh, amazing.
Yeah, exactly, mate. Exactly. So anyway, I started watching the Attack of the Clones, and then I was just like, nah, Anakin Skywalker's a war anchor. I can't handle this. But then I went back to the originals. So I watched all 3 of the originals last night, and it was really interesting because to actually understand the plot and storyline this time, and I think I've like over lockdown. Lockdown 1, and I'm sure this lockdown 2 as well, I've been revisiting quite a lot of stuff and realizing that my initial interpretation of whatever it was I was sort of like consuming is now, with an older, definitely not wiser, but an older sort of perspective and head on it, my view and the context kind of changes, and I enjoy things for different reasons.
Right.
And that's been one of the best things about. I did like a playthrough with my album for whenever it's during lockdown, whenever like 2 years release or whatever it was.
Right, yeah.
And listening through to that, and then like, I think I did it on Twitter, so I just put out sort of like notes about it. I was just like, fucking hell, there's certain things even only 2 years ago that I wrote that literally came from me. And I'm like listening, going, it means something different, or or it means something more, or in some cases it means a lot less. Like I was like, why the fuck was I so hung up on that? But I think it's quite good to have, to be able to sort of evolve and change your views, and be willing to sort of move forward and understand things differently.
Oh,
And
definitely.
this is another reason why I'm trying not to be an unuseful voice at the moment in politics, and in whether that's global politics or whether that's the politics of the live music scene, because I'm a reactionary, or react, what's the word,
Yeah, reactionary works, I think.
reactionary, yeah. I'm a reactionary,
Yeah.
So
yeah,
who didn't spend enough time in English language apparently, but but do you know what I mean? So like I'm very, very temperamental, and I'm on the spot and off the cuff, and I'm trying to just be a little bit more considered and a little bit more useful than just being that angry bloke who's always shouting at everything but never really offering an alternative other than fuck whatever needs fucking at that time, which is a terrible phrase. I hope that doesn't make the tagline of this episode.
I'm going to put it in the highlights in the beginning.
Oh, don't, man, that sounds so creepy.
No, but there's value in that initial emotional reaction as well.
There is, yeah.
Like there is, because you might kind of, like you say, there's this process of consideration, and you might, after that process, think, oh no, I was right. That emotional reaction was right. I still feel this way. But I guess, you just got to have that filter, that barrier, to make sure that you are right. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, man. I think, and there's some things like when QPR fucking give away 2 penalties again, like I am going to go on Twitter and I am going to lose my shit. Like that's going to happen. Or do you know what I mean? Like if someone's trolling me on Twitter, I am going to fuck them up sometimes. Like, that's going to happen. But I think when things are really, really like important to me,
right?
I need to just be a little bit more careful with just with my approach, I think, because you wouldn't guess it from this interview, but I can be quite good at like stringing sentences together sometimes, especially if I've got the time to think about it. So I do worry that I can, do you know what I mean? I can literally do more harm than good with
overly reactive.
I'll have the best intentions in the world, but I'll end up making things worse by sort of saying my bit. So I'm just trying to be a little bit more. When you've got people like, for instance, Sam Dab, or like Mark from Music Venues Trust, who they can be angry, but they can also be factually checked and accurate, so almost immediately.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. That's how I'd love to be.
Yeah.
But I'm sort of, I think I'm such an emotional person that I can sometimes get caught up with, fuck the facts. This is just fucking wrong. Fuck you. Fuck
Yeah.
them. Fuck this. Fuck everything. And it's a bit like,
Yeah.
well, that's no fucking good to anyone, man. Like all you've done
It's
is
not
sworn.
helping.
All you've done is sworn loads of times, and your mum's going to be embarrassed when one of her friends brings up your Twitter feed in a conversation. Like, that is literally what's going to happen. So yeah, I'm just trying to be a little bit more useful, man.
It makes perfect sense. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I think we should all try and do something like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
hopefully.
I don't want to take up too much of your time anyway. But you mentioned Twitter a bunch of times then. And
Yeah.
during my research, my in-depth research, aka scrolling through your Twitter feed,
Yeah.
I saw that Tyson Fury follows you.
Yeah.
How did that happen? How I didn't know that. How's that a thing? You and Tyson just mates or what?
Yeah, man, good mates. No,
Yeah?
we're not. No, we're not. I can't
Is he a big
remember.
fan?
Wait, I mean, he's big. I don't know if he's a fan or not, but I can't really remember. I think I sort of I think when he was doing a load of his work uh, about male mental health and stuff like that.
Right.
And his sort of recovery from addiction and depression and all the rest of it. I just remember I was watching an interview with him and I was just like, this guy is like, this is the type of guy that people would write off, and he'd try and make a recovery, but he'd still be written off.
Right.
And it like something clicked to me in my head where I was just like, we need to be more empathetic and sort of understanding and willing to let people change, because like the dude said some unsavory stuff in his time, man.
Yes,
and it, you know, he's like he's not been, you know, he's no angel, and neither am I, neither is anyone.
Who is, yeah.
So I think I just reached out to him, like it was something like as simple as, you know, like DMing him or something like that before he followed me, and he just sort of like came back and was just like a perfect gentleman, and
yeah, what an absolute legend.
So it's not like, you know, like he's not like a mate or anything, as much as I would like him to be. But it's pretty cool.
It's got to start somewhere, isn't it?
That's it, mate. Maybe this relationship will blossom. Who knows?
Yeah. Chuck him on a guest list of your next show and we'll see what happens.
That's it. Yeah. But like, no, I'm a big fan of his, man, and I think like as he's getting older as well, you know, he's really cool, and I like the fact he talks so openly. I think it's you know, I think it's commendable, and I think the way he dismisses some of his unsavory behavior and some of the unsavory things he said, and is apologetic, and I believe him, and I like him, and I think people should be, you know, it's obviously different with every scenario. There's some things that are basically just not forgivable. But I think someone like him putting their money where their mouth is, and not only, you know, apologizing, but then actively working and campaigning to make things better. I can get behind that, man. I can support that bloke. But
his
story
he's
cool,
just
man.
miraculous. Like, because on two different fronts, like he did the impossible kind of thing. Like he came back from absolute kind of emotional and mental despair, and then because he ballooned physically up to like 450 pounds or something like that, and he managed to get back into fighting shape. Like both of those things individually, they're enough of a battle for one person to deal with, and he kind of smashed them both, which it's just tremendous.
I think you can't, like, I don't think for myself anyway, I don't think it's possible for me to fully understand the gravity of that as well, and the magnitude of what that journey would be, to what you'd have to put yourself through physically every day. Like if I have a bad day where I'm feeling depressed, likelihood is I will stay in bed the whole day. Do you know what
Yeah.
I mean? And like, I'll turn my
Yeah.
phone off, and that's the way I would deal with it. To think that man was not only dealing with that, but knowing, having to get up and then to shift that weight, and in order to be fighting fit, you're just like, fucking hell, man. That is so
Hats
much.
off.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
you were saying, mental and physical sort of turmoil and pain that a human being has to go through. And then to do all that and then come out and campaign and actively, support, offer advice and be helpful and be a useful voice in a conversation. It's just like, the guy's a dude, man. Like, he's got my backing for sure. He's cool. There's a few interesting Twitter followers I've got, I think. So like Gordon Ramsay's up there. He's
Never.
funny.
I missed him. I only saw the top ones, the ones that I follow as well. So
Okay.
I don't Gordon Ramsay's a good one.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, it's funny
because
when
happen as well?
I can't remember how that one happened. That was a while ago now. I'm not entirely sure. I remember it being quite funny, but I can't remember exactly how. But it was another sort of like slight segue is when I moved into barbering, when I went from like training, because at first I was kind of like, I didn't want to tell anyone that I like played music or anything like that. Just because I was just I'm just gonna get fucking slated for it, and do you know what I mean? Everyone's gonna be like, oh, he's a failed musician.
Name dropping every 10 seconds. Yeah.
And then like within like a couple of weeks, some of the barbers who are now really good friends of mine, like realized that that I played music and all the rest of it, and I've just been like, I'll get fucking rinsed so hard, man. It's so funny. They're just like, on like my first day, Kyle, one of the barbers there, a good mate of mine, was just like, right, now you've graduated and you're a barber, none of this fucking diva shit, no special treatment, no riders, nothing like that. I was just like, it was like the first thing you said to me. I was just like, all right, thanks, man. That was great to be here. But I have to be quite careful, because one of the things I always get asked nearly every haircut I do is so how long have you been doing this for then? And it's like, I started saying this thing now, like to try and dead the conversation by going, "Oh, it's my first day," and they just kind of like, and then you see like a bit of shock on their face, and then you're smart, well, you can't smile if you got a mask on, but you know what I mean? Like it goes one or two ways.
Eyes, don't you?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, but yeah, so but then it's very easy. It often goes, do you know what I mean, into like the music conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And you just feel like, oh man, I just feel like I'm fucking selling myself or something. It's like, as a musician, like cutting someone's hair, but then trying to be like, I used to play music, like I used to
promise.
I mean, yeah,
I'm on Spotify.
Yeah, that's it, mate. It's so cringe. So you've got to be careful. And like, there's been a few times where, like with the students and stuff, because I'm the cheapest in the shop, because I'm only a graduate barber, and so like a lot of the students will come to me because it's a cheaper haircut. So which makes perfect sense. So but then they'll be studying music and they'll be like, talking to me about music, or as if like it's alien to me. And then you've got I'm always like, have this internal battle of going like, do I say something or do I not? And like,
just biting your tongue.
Yeah, usually I don't, but it's funny. Like I had this dude the other day who was just fucking like mansplaining the music industry to me, and I was just sort of like, when you're just going like, just shut up, just don't say anything. And I like waited the whole way till the end of the haircut, and I was just like, right, fucking just let he's here for a haircut. He's not here for a fucking seminar from you. So I was just like, just cut the guy's hair. And he was a nice kid and all the rest of it. But anyway, at the end of the haircut, I was just like, we were just sort of like, I was like styling it or whatever. And he goes, so what sort of, what sort of music are you into? And we just like, had that little chat. And he goes on about, who did he say? He said, he said someone who I knew. And I think you might mention like Kate Nash or something like that. And so we just had like, I was just like, oh yeah, I like Kate's brilliant, but rather than going Kate Nash, and he's like, looked at me like, Kate. I was like,
first name?
yeah, like that sort of thing. And I've met her a couple of times. We got lots of mutual, do you know, he's like, oh, so blah, 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 what's all that? And I was just like, oh, fuck, Sean, why have you
Here
been
we go.
why even speak? Yeah. And then I just basically said, oh, yeah, I just play a little bit of music. And he was just like, oh, so what's your band's name? And I was just going, oh, well, you know. And then it's awkward, oh, it's Solo, actually. Like, do you know what I mean? That shit. Anyway, long story short, what I'm getting at, so the guy went off. Like, later on that day, I had another student in who was a flatmate of the guy.
Oh,
and,
right, yeah.
And was like, you're a fucking musician. You cut Thingy's hair earlier. And I was just like, oh, no, here we go. They'd obviously gone back and looked on Spotify or something. And and then it was like there was like 8 people in that house, so I had like 8 different people's hair to cut. They all came into me, and every time it was like I was doing another interview. Like everybody was cutting someone's hair. They're all musicians.
They're going to start marketing you. They're going to have like a life-size cutout in the window. Have your hair cut by Sean McGowan.
Oh mate, it was so funny. Like I love them for getting their mates to come in and all the rest of it. But yeah, it was funny, dude. And then you just find yourself going like, I've become. I feel like I hope I haven't become, but sometimes I feel like I've become. When I was 18 or 19 and already touring and already, you know, like doing okay, and touring like the UK and all the rest of it, and I'd come back to Southampton and do like a benefit gig or whatever, and there'd be like an all day, I'd be 20 bands on, and there'd be the big old punk who would just sit at the bar and just tell me what I need to do and what I'm doing wrong. And I'd always I remember thinking as like an arrogant little like 19-year-old, I'd be like, I've already done more than in like my 19 years of life in the music industry than you've done in your, you know, whatever. Like, stop fucking, just leave me alone. Like, can we just have a night? Do you know what I mean? I don't need to be told how things are by you. And I now feel like I've become that fucking fat old punk, giving everyone shit, giving all the young ones like, and it's awful, and I hate myself for it. But
just with a set of clippers instead of a pint in your hand.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. It's funny. It's funny, man. You know, like I feel like this year, I think everyone will agree. Sort of everyone's been realizing a lot about ourselves, whether we're more or less resilient than we thought we were. Do you know what I mean? It's just been a bit like that. So I'm trying to sort of like keep quite honest with myself, and dude, I need like, you know, I need to pull myself up on my bullshit, man. Like, you know, when I'm whenever I'm sort of going off on one, and I'm like, because you know yourself, right? When you work in music, everything, you're just desensitized and everything's normal. And then you'd be having a conversation and just talking about, you know, backstage at Glastonbury or something normally. And it goes one or two ways. Like, people are either like quite amazed by it and you don't understand why, because you know, it's just normal. Or you just come across to them as a massive prick. Yeah. And I think the latter is more common. You come across like you're like showing off. And the intentions with me, the intention's usually not showing off. I only show off like that when I'm like challenged on something. If someone's like, do you know what I mean? Like, show me your CV. I'd be like, all right, fuck you. Here's my CV, sort of thing. But it's never that happens like once every 6 months or something like that. So I'm trying to like check myself a little bit and be like, you need to understand that, like, you know, some of the stuff that you've done in your, you know, in other jobs and stuff isn't normal. So you've got to be a little bit more understanding of that.
Because, I feel like the responsibility is on both parties as well, though. You know what I mean? Like, it's on the person talking and on the person listening to not react like a dick as well. Like you say, I'm in the music industry as well, but I still love hearing all these stories. Like, I love just being a part of it and hearing about it and living it. Whereas other people can think, oh yeah, diva, dickhead, minor celebrity kind of thing. So it goes both ways.
It's an interesting one. I think as well, when you spend so long in an environment and you like, you know, you have the same views as your friends, right? So you sort of like, so if I was to meet up with, you know, Sam Duckworth or anyone like that, we talk quite openly about anything. Well, I mean, he's one of my best mates. We would do that anyway. But but I can't have that conversation with some of my mates from home in the same way
Right.
because we've got different experiences or different views on stuff. So
Yeah.
that's something I've been trying to get better at, and being like a little bit more understanding of, the privilege that I have had working in the industry I have and all the rest of it, and just being a little bit more sort of tactful in how I talk about it to people, because
Yeah.
it can sometimes sound quite patronizing or condescending, and I don't mean it to be, but I also have had experience of people being like that with me in the past, and I didn't like it.
Right.
So I'm just
Yeah.
sort of trying to be I'm just trying to be a bit more mindful in general, which is a big step for me, because I'm just a fucking blabbermouth who says what he wants, when he wants, where he
I think
wants,
the
about
fact
who he wants.
the fact that you use the word privilege, I think, is a start, and some people don't
Yeah.
see it that way. Just the
Ye-
awareness that not everyone gets to do what you do is a big start.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think, I don't know, like I say, none of us are perfect, me more than most, but I'm trying to sort of like balance it out a little bit. But we'll see, man. I don't know what the next few years are going to look like. The only thing I know for sure is I'm going to be cutting hair. And
Yeah.
I've nearly finished writing. I did finish writing the second album, and now I'm tweaking bits again. So
Awesome.
I'm going to have an album ready to record as
That's
and
sick. I
when.
was just going to ask what's next for Sean McGowan. So there's an
Yeah,
album in the works, almost done. Yeah.
yeah. In terms of writing,
Right.
recording, rehearsing, recording will be another thing. We were going to try and record it this year. Actually, we know who's producing it, and that in itself is very exciting.
Yeah.
We know where we're recording it. It's just a matter of, we had dates booked in, actually had dates penciled, which we had to move for various reasons, and
Yeah.
so it's gonna happen. But the biggest thing is, man, is money. So you sort of like,
Right.
it's being in a position to invest that amount of money is, at the moment, is just not something anyone can really do, which
No.
is another
Yeah. Not
thing
at all.
that scares me about the way the industry's heading. It's like, it's who can record, and I I've commend people who do home recording and stuff like that, and I don't have that knowledge or that patience. But also, if I'm going to put a record out that I want people to buy and I want people to love and want people to enjoy, I want to record it properly. I want to do it in the
Yeah.
studio. I want to
Mm-hmm.
work hard on it. I want to. Do you know what I mean? I want all of that behind it. I want the
I
product
know what you
value,
mean. Yeah.
the
Yeah.
product value to be there.
Yeah, I feel
So
like we might see like a resurgence of the EP. Like we were saying, the EP
yeah,
was kind of viewed as lesser before.
yeah,
I feel like that might be making a comeback purely from the point that people can't afford to record albums anymore. So
yeah.
EPs might be making a comeback, I reckon.
Well, the thing is as well, I guess in terms of like marketing an EP, right? If you can, if you can do if you think what an EP, 4 to 5 songs roughly,
Hmm.
if you were to do an EP, that's what base. For some people, that's a third of an album, so it's the
Yeah,
third of recording costs. It's going to
yeah,
be cheaper to master, all the rest of it. If you think about it fundamentally like that, and then you can do, when you market and sell it and sell that EP, you can sell, if you split up an album, I guess this is the point I'm actually making. If you split a 15-track album, or what would have been a 12-track album with 3 bonus tracks or whatever, if you
yeah.
broke that up into 3 EPs, you can that's 3 more sellable products you would
Yeah,
have
that's true. Yeah,
in the
yeah,
one. That's three more different runs of merch of
yeah,
attached to that album.
yeah.
That's
3 more
three
chances to get your name out there, kind of thing.
yeah,
Yeah,
3 different runs of, well, when we can go back to touring, that's 3 different tours you can do. That's
yeah,
3 different opportunities for festival bookings. That's 3 different, it's a no-brainer. But
yeah,
I'm just a bit old-fashioned, where I quite like the album as an entity. But I
yeah,
do think you're right. I do think it's becoming a little bit redundant at the moment, which is sad.
yeah.
But
It's funny you did it the other way around. Everyone was still doing albums. You chuck out an EP, Now
Yeah,
everyone
that's
can't
it.
do it, and you've got an album in the works.
Yeah, well, that's it, mate. I think, like, I mean, what could I retrain as a barber? Like, why would I do that? An industry that was going to get fucking locked down. Why didn't I retrain as like a politician or something like that? I'd be well.
Yeah,
well off of
exactly.
that.
Never lock those bastards down.
Yeah, that's
true.
it. But you know, it is what it is, man.
Yeah, it is what it is. Well, nice one, man. I think we've covered all the bases. I reckon.
Awesome,
I'm
man.
confident. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks for your
wicked.
time, man. This has been sick. I appreciate
Nice
it.
one. Nice to see you again, man, and chat to you. It's been far too long.
Hopefully it's face to face soon. Next summer,
Yeah.
come back, work in the pub.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, 100%. I'll get a job in the barbers for the daytime, work at the pub for the evenings. Yeah.
Do it, or we'll just do a Le Pub Barbers. We'll just chuck one up there, a mobile barbers.
100%. I'm up for that. Nice one, man. It's good to chat to you.
You too. Nice one. Take it easy, man. All the best.
You too, bro. Thanks for having me.
See ya.